was a quiet, ordinary morning in London. The sky was still dark, with only a faint glow of sunrise peeking through the clouds. Ngolo Kanté, a man known for his strict routines and humble lifestyle, walked home from the local mosque. His footsteps were soft against the pavement, and his breath formed small clouds in the chilly air. He had just finished his morning prayers, a ritual he never missed, no matter how early training sessions or travel demands might be. For Kanté, prayer was his anchor, a moment of peace before the chaos of the world began. He entered his small apartment, a modest space with simple furniture and clean lines. There were no trophies on display, no flashy decorations. A faded photo of his parents sat on a shelf, and a well-worn Quran rested on a side table. In the kitchen, he filled a kettle and set it on the stove. The sound of boiling water soon filled the room. He prepared a cup of Moroccan tea, the way his mother had taught him, steeped with fresh mint and a hint of sugar. Alongside it, he placed a slice of bread with honey, his usual breakfast. As he settled into his armchair, a faint smile crossed his face. This was his favorite part of the day, the calm before the storm of phone calls, training, and public appearances. But today, that calm would not last. His phone, which he had left on the coffee table, began buzzing violently. At first, he ignored it. He sipped his tea, savoring its warmth. But the buzzing continued, short, urgent bursts that demanded attention. Reluctantly, he picked up the phone. Dozens of notifications flooded the screen, missed calls, emails, messages from numbers he didn't recognize. Among them was a text from his younger brother, Mamadou. "Golo, turn on the news. Now it's about Burkina Faso." Kanté frowned. Burkina Faso, his parents' homeland, a place he visited often but quietly. He clicked the link Mamadou had sent. The screen lit up with a live broadcast from Ouagadougou, the capital city. A press conference was underway, led by Captain Ibrahim Traore, the country's president. The room was packed with journalists, government officials, and village elders. Traoré stood at the podium, his face stern but his eyes glistening with emotion. Behind him, a large screen displayed photos of drought-stricken villages, children carrying water buckets, and newly built schools. "Today," Traoré began, his voice steady but heavy, "I share a story that has humbled our nation. It is not a story of politics or power, but of a man whose silence has done more than 1,000 speeches." Kanté's chest tightened. He set down his teacup, his hands trembling slightly. Traoré continued. 3 years ago, during the worst drought in our history, villages began receiving mysterious aid. Trucks arrived in the dead of night, loaded with food, medicine, and drilling equipment to build wells. No one knew where these supplies came from. There were no logos, no names, just a note that read, "From a friend." The camera zoomed in on a weathered piece of paper held by Traoré. Kanté recognized his own handwriting. "To the people of Burkina Faso," Traoré read aloud, "this aid is yours. Use it wisely. No thanks are needed." Kanté closed his eyes. He remembered sitting at this very table, writing those notes in the dim light of his kitchen. He'd sent the supplies through a network of trusted friends, making sure no one could trace them back to him. But Traoré wasn't finished. "We launched an investigation," he said, "and what we found was extraordinary." The screen behind him changed to show financial records, bank transfers, and contracts. The aid came from a foundation registered in Paris under the name of an elderly woman, Marie Coulibaly. Kanté's breath caught. Marie Coulibaly was his aunt, the woman who had raised him after his parents passed away. She lived in a small apartment in Paris, unaware that Kanté had used her name to channel funds. She believed the money was for a sewing cooperative, Traoré explained. But her nephew, Ngolo Kanté, had other plans. The room erupted in murmurs. Reporters scrambled to type on their laptops. Officials exchanged shocked glances. In London, Kanté sank deeper into his chair. His secret, guarded for years, was unraveling live on television. Traoré held up another document. Kanté didn't just send money. He created a system. Over 30 local organizations received funds, each managed by villagers themselves. He gave them control, no strings attached. Images flashed on the screen. A woman in a rural clinic holding a baby. A teacher writing on a chalkboard in a new school. Farmers harvesting crops from seeds Kanté had provided. He didn't want recognition, Traoré said. He wanted change. Kanté's phone buzzed again. Messages poured in from friends, teammates, even his coach. He ignored them, his eyes fixed on the broadcast. Traoré's voice softened. But there's more. He shared stories Kanté had never expected to hear publicly. A 12-year-old girl, Aisha, who wrote in her diary, "I pray every night for the angel who sent us books. Mama says he works in the dark so we can live in the light." An elderly farmer, Usmain, who wept as he described the well that saved his village. "We named it the Quiet Gift. We still don't know who to thank." A young nurse, Fatima, who received medical supplies during the pandemic. "Whoever sent these didn't just save lives. They gave us hope." Kanté's vision blurred. He hadn't realized how deeply his actions had touched people. Then came the hardest revelation. Traoré held up a photo of a small, sun-baked village, Wiguya. This is where Kanté's grandparents are buried. Last year, when the drought returned, he sold his Champions League medal to fund midnight aid deliveries. Villagers wanted to name a mosque after him. He refused. "Honor my father instead," he said. The camera panned to the mosque, its walls painted a soft cream, the name Bakary Kanté engraved above the door. Villagers stood outside, praying. One man looked into the camera and said, "Tell him thank you," even if he doesn't want to hear it. By now, tears streamed down Kanté's face. His phone buzzed nonstop, calls from journalists, requests for interviews, tweets praising his hidden heroism. He silenced it and walked to the window. London stretched out below, busy and uncaring. He felt exposed, as if the walls of his quiet life had crumbled overnight. A knock at the door startled him. Through the peephole, he saw reporters crowding the hallway. "Mr. Kanté, can you comment on the president's speech?" someone shouted. He didn't answer. Instead, he packed a small bag, a change of clothes, his prayer beads, and the photo of his parents. He slipped out the back door, down the fire escape, and into the alley below. The chill morning air bit his face as he pulled his coat tighter. For hours, he wandered the streets, avoiding busy areas. He bought a cheap prepaid phone at a corner shop and called his aunt in Paris. Her caretaker answered. "She's resting," the woman said, "but she talked about you this morning. She said, 'Tell Ngolo the garden is growing.'" Kanté smiled through his tears. Years ago, he'd told his aunt that charity was like planting seeds. You do it in secret, trusting that something beautiful will grow. Tell her I'll visit soon," he whispered. He ended the call and bought a bus ticket to Marseille. As the bus rolled out of the station, he stared at his reflection in the window. The world knew his secret now, but that didn't change his mission. Somewhere, in another village, another child needed books, another clinic needed supplies, another farmer prayed for rain. He closed his eyes, remembering his mother's words. Goodness isn't about praise. It's about doing what's right, even when no one is watching. The bus hummed along the highway, carrying him away from the noise. Behind him, headlines blared about his extraordinary generosity, but ahead lay quiet roads and hidden villages, places where he could still work in the shadows. In Ouagadougou, the press conference ended with a standing ovation. Traoré's final words echoed through the room. Ngolo Kanté taught us that heroes don't need capes. They need courage. The courage to help without being seen, to give without taking credit, and to love a world that may never know their name. But Kanté didn't hear this. He was already far away, his face pressed against the bus window, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold. Somewhere, a new day was beginning, and with it, new work to do.